For the benefit of a larger crowd, let me repeat this. So, GeekNight is a monthly event which promotes the sharing of the knowledge and the training with the like-minded geeks in the community. So, this happens on first Wednesday of every month, unless it's a public holiday or there are some unavoidable causes like an alien invasion or something, right? And so we've been doing it from the last 51 months. So this started in April 2015, and from then on, without missing any of the Wednesdays, we've been continuously doing it. And today we have our speaker here, Bhat Dittakavi, and he's going to talk about the man, mind, and AI missions. A quick intro about him. So he has a 20 plus industry experience, and he's a AI and a ML person. And he's a series of entrepreneurial person. He started a couple of companies. Couple of you might have heard about this company by name Vedic Soft. So he's the founder of the Vedic Soft, and now he heads this company by name Variance.ai, and he's also a guest lecturer at the ISB who takes the analytics class. So I'm going to quickly hand over to him, and it's all yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening. Is this good? You have a caller mic by chance? Caller mic, please. Can you hear me? It's yes. Good? Okay, thank you. So, first thing, how many of you are into data science? Okay. So, around 6 of you into data science. Okay. But in the interest of the majority, I'll be making it more generic than getting deeper into a particular topic. But sure, you could also contribute. Let's work it collectively. Those data scientists sitting in this room, if there are any questions that you could answer better, I'm more than happy. Let's work it out collectively. So today's topic is man, mind, and machines. What connects all of them? What do you think that will be one takeaway for you at the end of the session? What is that one thing? Memory? Intelligence? Yeah. You're getting there. Learning. In the context of man and machines. In the context of man and machines, one takeaway for you would be this. Collaboration between man and machines. So I am always a strong believer of man with machines, not man versus machines. So if they can collaborate well, I think we are the best of the best worlds. So before we get to the main topic, before I go and show the rest of the slide, what's the difference between man and machine? What separates man from machine? Computation. Even humans do computation, of course, not to the scaling extent. Fuzzy logic.
One is the creator, one is the creation.
One is the creator, the other is the creation. Oh, I like it. Conscious, yeah. Machines do not have conscious. Emotion, yeah. Feelings. You're right. Right. Absolutely, all of you are correct. But the answer is right there. The difference between man and machine is mind. Machines do not have mind. And what is mind? What is mind? Concept? Abstraction? What defines mind? What defines human race having the mind compared to other races? Thoughts? Very good. Okay. Behavior. It's memory. Okay. Other beings also have memory. Elephant has memory. Human memory. So between man and machines we are compared? Okay. So mind is what? Learning from experience. Okay. Dogs do too, by the way. I'm just comparing human beings with other non-human beings. Yeah. Um, but what makes human mind very special? Thoughts, very good. One more thing we are missing. Thoughts are good. One more thing. Imagination is driven by thoughts. Of course, you're right. What else? Cognitive. Yeah, of course, cognitive. Emotion. Who said that? Okay, it is your 5-star. Okay, so thoughts and emotions together make up the mind. I know we refer the heart for emotion, but in reality, the emotions are also in the mind, right? When you get anger, if you see, for example, I'll tell you why emotions are in the brain or are connected to the mind. When you are happy and then you have the eye drops, the temperature is different from when you are angry and then you have eye drops, or when you are sad and then eye drops. Happy eye drops are very, very cold. Angry eye drops are very, very hot compared to the temperature, right? So the emotion is driving the changes, and that the result of thoughts. So this is what we are going to talk about, right? We have mindful humans, we have mindless machines. The one that connects them, or the one that separates humans from machines, thoughts and emotions. So can you believe that in 10 to 20, 30, 40, 100 years, that machines can be thoughtful and emotional? Can they be? Machines? I'm sure you guys are a big fan of Robot 2.0. And as you say they're emotional. I know. But why do you say they have emotions? Or they will be having emotions? To have emotion and thought, you need to have life. Can you put life in machines? Like any other being, when you call beings, they're beings because they have life. They have existence. But do you think a machine would have existence and life? It is eternal, it will be recharged, but you call that it has life, but it doesn't have the life. So in that case, it is really hard to get machines to have emotions. You may have fake look-alike, feel-alike emotions coming out of the machines, but you know. You may also want to fake believe. For example, I'm sure anyone having any kind of Siri kind of voice chart, if you have nieces and nephews, you look younger, proud have daughters and sons, they play with Siri, right? They talk for some time as if Siri knows, as if the girl knows Siri is a person. They talk, they communicate. So temporarily you can fool your system as a kid that the other person is the other machine is a person. In reality, we all know it's just a chatbot. It's a channel, isn't it? So we may fool ourselves believing that the machine may have emotion, but in reality, machine would not have any emotions. If there comes a day wherein a machine gets into emotion, then that is human induced, but that is never be real. Number one. Number two, it needs to have life to understand emotions. And number three, human mind has evolved over the period of millions of years. And to catch up with human mind, to carry thoughts and feelings, machines really have long way to go, if at all they can get there. So the next question is, we are at ThoughtWorks, right? And can you connect ThoughtWorks with our today's topic in any way? The name. I'm playing with the names. I know ThoughtWorks is probably some development and consulting firm. And so
the thoughts which you process into action.
yeah, you're talking about manifesting thoughts into actions and what. So look at this. You have the thought that is acted upon becomes some work. So what is thought, by the way? What is thought? Something you assume is a thought. You enact to do it, okay. What else? What is thought? A signal? Yeah, I like signal processing. But signal will have noise, lot of noise. Would thoughts have a lot of noise? Possibly, right? Yeah, definitely. So a thought is nothing but an idea or an opinion, right? Just an idea. Suddenly it pops up in your head. Hey, I have a thought. Listen to this. That's what you tell as you write, right? Something. Something about something. It's an idea. And any startup with an idea is no good unless they execute things, right? So thought works is about having an idea and then executing it. Thought works. But at the same time, I have an idea, I have executed, and then I have seen the outcome. The outcome is not the way I am expecting it. Then you loop it back and then change your idea, right? Our outcome is really exciting and you're so happy. What do? You improvise the idea. So it's an iterative process, right? Thought to action, action to thought. It's an iterative process. And that is what is happening here. Thought is an idea of which you get outcomes, and the one that connects the thought to work. Who can think? Machines or humans? So humans can think, but machines can work. So what we are trying to do is take a human idea and then let the machine work. Human assisted machine. Now machine has given some outcome. Machine has said, if you take a photo from the corner and say, machine has said there are around 72 people in this audience. Could be right, could be wrong. From that insight that machine has provided, you are going to make new assumptions or improvise your thought. There's a loop. So when the insight is given that these many people are there in this room from a picture, machine is assisting human there. And hence I said one takeaway for you is collaboration. Human is assisting machine when thought manifests into work. Machine is assisting human when work again fed to the thought. This is nice yin and yang, collaborative world. So what are machines? Somebody has nicely modified the title as man, mind and AI machines. So in that context, what do you mean by machines? What is a machine? It is doing some repetitive work. What does the repetitive work in the AI world, computer science world? What does the repetitive work? A set of instructions called program or algorithm, right? So algorithm is a machine, by the way. What else can be a machine? Because there is a machine learning. What do you mean by machine there? Just an algorithm. What else it can be? Anything that executes? Yeah, other than the algorithm, what else can be executing? Any script? Yeah, I mean, put algorithm, program, script all together into one called algorithm. What else can be a machine? Hardware, right? So maybe a robot, a robot. So a machine is, it could be an algorithm or a robot or computer in general, you may call it. Okay? So what makes a machine intelligent? Right? The so-called concepts we have that make the machine intelligent are, right? So maybe I'm not putting the question correctly, but I'll come back and say, you know what? What makes machine intelligent is artificial intelligence is making it intelligent, machine learning is making it intelligent, and deep learning is making machines intelligent. Just now I said machines do not have thought and mind. Then how can they be intelligent? It's like oxymoron, right? I mean, how can they be intelligent? This is not natural intelligence. But do you like the word artificial intelligence? I mean, it looks so artificial. So, we would rather call it non-biological intelligence. If at all you want to call it intelligence, it's a non-biological one. But by the idea and the definition of intelligence itself, it is not something to do with thinking. But it is doing something for the humans It is doing human tasks like the way humans do for humans. And hence we are calling it intelligent because we can find a better word. So just remember that. Just because we are saying something is intelligent doesn't mean that it has life, it has mind. Okay.
Do something with efficient.
Correct.
Then they intelligence. The intelligence without human.
Yeah. Ability to do something like the way humans do on its own in a way, based on some kind of prayer data, prayer training, prayer knowledge. Perfect. So we understand machines, we understand mind, we understand humans. By the way, who are human beings? Who are human beings? I mean, define human being. Yeah, with a mind, of course. So apart from that, of course, I'm with you. Human being is what? No, there's a big difference between human being and being human. So you're talking about being human. So human being is the one. Human being is the one. It's nothing but a species. There are many other living beings. Human being is one among the living species. Being is indicative of life. Non-human beings also indicative of life, like animals and plants. So human is a species that has probably better mind than the animals. So you need to understand human being is different from being human. What is being human? Like the friend said, compassion, kindness, equanimity, equality, and all of that. What does it bring? Being human brings what? It brings responsibility. Now, if machines are given some kind of algorithm or a power to do the things for humans, we want to make them responsible. Even though they are not humans, we want to make sure they are responsible in their actions. There is no bias inherently in the system. When we say responsible, if there is an autonomous car driving on a highway and then hits somebody, God forbid, there is a fatal incident, the person died. And then you ask the AI algorithm or the one who wrote it, hey, can you tell what exactly happened? No, it's a black box, I don't know what to say, but somehow it happened. Would the judge agree with that answer? He needs some explanation. So when you build these human AI systems to get the government approval, to win in the judicial world, you need to have explicability. Algorithms that can explain, or humans who can explain why the algorithm behaved the way it behaved, because this is a life and death scenario. It's no longer tagging a face in Facebook, right? It has no material impact. But when there is a material impact, there is governance and then there are ethics. So when you say responsible, you are talking about ethics. When you say responsible, you are talking about doing what is right and being a person sharing this resource called Earth. So just keep that in mind. So I would ask you, like the way humans try to be human, being human, even machines have to be nurtured or shaped in such a way that they are made responsible or they are responsible. So I'll just walk you through what happens in the world of AI in the very layman terms. Okay? In an inquiry mode, I asked you a question, you answered me. In a question and answer mechanism, so you understand what is this big thing called AI in the world of AI. So if I give you a list of things, and first focus on picture. So if you see a picture, what is your response? What it is? What kind of an object is there in the picture? What else? Geometry. What is the shape and size of the object? What else? What is the color of the picture? What else? What is the pattern in the picture? So, what are we doing here? Depending on the goal you are seeking, your answers are different. Everybody is shown the same picture, but people are looking at different goals. And if you are having an AI system, you need to prepare the AI system for the goal the sponsor is looking at. The same picture you may be saying, I would like to know is a color photo or black and white. Somebody else will say, how many heads are there in this group photo? I want to count the heads because I would like to match that with the food coupons. I want to make sure food coupons are matching with the heads. If there are double the heads in terms of food coupons, there's a problem in ThoughtWorks budgeting, right? There's some siphoning happening elsewhere. So the target is the problem you're trying to solve, the business problem. Accordingly, the same data, you would receive what you want out of the data. So given a picture, let's say you're finding who is there inside. Given a loan application, what could be the business problem are you solving? Given a loan application. Eligibility, terms and conditions. Yeah. But generally, when you look at loan application, what is the expectation out of it? Surety, approval, right? You approve or you don't approve, right? That's the expectation. But it can be also, hey, I want to see his credit score. I want to see whether he has any collateral for this. So you may be looking for many things as intermediate steps. But the final goal of looking at a loan application is this person credit worthy or not? Okay? And take, for example, you have a user profile and then you are showing an advertisement to that user. How many of you use Instagram? Right? And then how many of you like the advertisement on Instagram is more sensible than advertisement on Facebook? Right? Advertisement on Instagram is more sensible because it will only show the advertisements that match your interest. Why? Because it's intelligent. No, you just fed in your profile what your interests are based on your geography, right? So it will only show you geography relevant, interest relevant advertisement. What are we doing here? You are showing in Instagram such advertisements in such a way that the probability that you click the advertisement goes higher, the click rate goes higher, click through rate.
So does Facebook. Facebook has
Does, absolutely. But the debate is not between Facebook or Instagram. It seems Instagram has a better way of getting the people to click. At least, I'm not an Instagram guy, I'm not a Facebook guy. But those who use told me. And one of the guys really showed me in Instagram how the click-through rate happens, how the interest generated more. And the restricted platform on Instagram really helps you stay focused. You don't have any nonsense happening around. There are restrictions, limitations. You cannot even flip the phone, it looks like. It's all square videos, and then only 3 minutes, they're only max 1 minute, and then get extended to 5 minutes. So the restrictions are suitable for your interests and passions, and also suitable for advertising. So all we're trying to do is whether the person is able to click, whether the person will click that advertisement or not, knowing his profile, right? That is the outcome we are looking at. Given an audio clip, what do you want to do? Given an audio clip, what would be your response for an audio clip? The language. All answers are correct. Remember, I told you, it depends on the problem you are trying to solve. I may have some answers in the next few seconds. They are not necessarily the only answers. They are just examples of the possible answers or responses. What else can you do with an audio clip? Count of decibels. Sure, you could also see who the singer is, who the musician is, which language it is, which movie it is, or you can transcribe everything into your text. It could be transcription task. And given an English sentence, number of words, but generally when you say English sentence, he's out of the box thinker. Grammar, we're trying to find out, possibly, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But generally you say English sentence, maybe Telugu as a translation, maybe Tamil as a translation. I mean, there's nothing right or wrong, I'm just saying, here we are doing translation as a service. Then given sensors with hard disk, there's a flight going up above 30,000 feet. It has those GE airplane engines. And then you are getting those parts tracked by sensors. And then the sensory data is coming as the aeroplane is in the flight. Sensory data is coming to GE's control center, wherever it is. And then they're watching every flight, wherever they sold those GE machines, they're watching. How are their machines behaving? Right, maintenance, right? What is the objective of tracking components of a big aeroplane engine? Is to make sure, hey, is there any part that is going to go bad in the next few weeks? Is there any part of the engine that we need to replace? So this is called predictive maintenance. We're trying to predict. Why do you need to do that? If you don't watch it, one fine day it breaks. When do you think aeroplane or airline carriers make money? When the airplanes are in the air. Every minute airplanes are on the ground, they're losing money. So suddenly some maintenance comes, this is unexpected, and then they have to pay an extra cost because that aeroplane is not up in the air. So if there is a way you can predict before it fails, you can minimize the downtime. So there is predictive maintenance. Then car camera and other sensors. That is the autonomous driving car. So there are a lot of sensors coming from the car. And you are looking at the sensory data. Why are you doing that? What is the outcome? Looking at the scene in the front. Looking at, is there a pedestrian crossing? Is there a buffalo crossing? Is there a yellow light? Is there a red light? Or whatever it is, right? Correct. So these are all different objectives. Or the responses that AI machine is going to give you. So just see what's happening here. But before I go there, when you are saying it is an object in the picture or not, in the world of AI, typically either it is a classification task or a regression task. Okay? Classification is categorizing it. So if we show you the image of the cat, you're saying it's a cat image or a dog image. Or there is no cat here. Cat, no cat. What are you doing here? Classification. So the first task is classification. The second task is classification. If you take the last one, car camera and other sensors, you also want to know whether there is a car in the front, which is classification. Yes, there is a car, there is no. How far the car is from me? How far the car is from me is not a classification task. It is a regression task. When you say regression, you are predicting a number. When you say classification, you are identifying a category or a class. That's it. Most of the AI tasks that you see all over the world are all about either classification or regression most of the times. Okay? Now let's go. And by the way, if the class is either there is a cat or there is no cat, means it's a binary classification. There is a person in the photo, there is no person in the photo. It's a binary classification. Oh, there is a dog. No. There is a person. No. There is a tree. Means you have had multiple classes. So it's a multi-class classification. There is something called one-class classification also. Given the sensory data of a nuclear plant, can you tell, based on sensory data of nuclear plant, would it go bust or not? You wouldn't have examples of how many times nuclear plant has bursted, right? For you to know the other side of the class. Everything is normal is a normal class. But the nuclear plant going bust or having the big accident is not a normalcy anyhow. So many a times your data is only linked with one class. But using one class, you have to do some magic and find out, hey, do I find an anomaly signal or a normal signal? Based on which I can make precaution about shutting the nuclear plant or not. It's expensive and then I'm not generating power and then it's very costly to shut it down. But then if it is a big anomaly, I don't want to take a chance. So it's kind of a one class classification, it looks like. Okay? So this is what it is. One class classification, of course, you call it one class because you don't have data otherwise for the other class, which is the failure of a nuclear plant. The only data you would have is all about the good things that are happening. I don't have any bad examples for me to learn from. Only Chernobyl and others, I mean, by then, these advancements didn't happen when Chernobyl happened. When recent nuclear disasters have happened, so I'm saying the learning ability for a machine to learn, what do you need? Data. Okay? Data comes from events. If that event doesn't happen, you don't get that side of the data. By the way, just to let you know, which one do you prefer? A great, powerful algorithm and bad data versus good data and then average algorithm? So awesome, everybody is good. So, the goodness of an algorithm goes for a toss if it is about getting better data. Right? Generally. So, it's important for us to collect as much good data as we can at the cost of not having great algorithm. It's okay. If both of them are really good, fantastic. And just to go through the task, similar to the one you have seen before, but more visual. This is Google Lens. What is this doing here? The app is looking at and saying, if there's an object, and not only that, it is telling the type of the object and it's also naming the object, right? So what is it doing? It is doing predicting a landmark. So when all these gateways are doing a lot of tasks, inherently they have AI in it. Believe it or not. Uber has AI in it. Your Facebook Tag Me has AI in it. And many things have AI in it. Autofilling, when you're having WhatsApp messages, it autocorrects, there has AI in it. But then the question is, what is AI? So you just use the word AI and then 99 out of 100 times the answer is correct. No, then I'll get there, what is AI in a few slides. So look at this. This is a French restaurant menu and the Google Lens app is looking at it and then it is giving some kind of, what is it doing? Yeah, translation, right? It's translating the menu. All of this that we listed in the grid are the tasks we are seeing visually, the application side of it. And then what are you doing here? Matching, product matching, or recommending the similar bags, similar shoes. So this is called style matching. That's what you're doing here. And then you are talking about taking a business card and then scanning it into your phone directly into your contacts database. So you're doing some kind of OCR and scanning the business card. Okay, this is also part of AI because AI, when you scan, it needs to identify the letter as the letter, right? Number as the number. The identification is converting from the image, from seeing so many images of so many letters, you should be able to identify each of the letters correctly. So you initially tried an algorithm by showing different images of different alphabets in different fonts, different sizes, different colors, different exposures. And intelligently has to find this is E. And it also wants to segregate and then classify. Hey, this is the number, this is the name, this is the address, and all of that. It's a valid point. Right? So quite a few things happen behind the scenes. But anything you look at it, they go back again in classification or regression problem most of the times. What are you doing here? When somebody comes to your home and say, hey, can you connect me to Wi-Fi? No, I don't even remember. It's 16-digit character and then it's on the back of the Wi-Fi in the corner. Open the cupboard and then something falls on your head. I mean, all of that, right? So what I'm trying to say is, for you to remember such complex password is difficult, but if you can just scan it, it gets connected. Your Wi-Fi enabled by scanning the back of the router. So what are you doing here? Wi-Fi connect. The app is taking the password from the Wi-Fi router directly or from a slip. You write it on a slip. And here what are you doing? Tourism. You are a tourist guide and then this is the Japanese temple and then this is built in so and so here, this is so and so, like you're doing a tour guide work. How is it able to do it? It's identifying, first classifying the building what it is. In this case, if there are around 1 lakh monuments in Japan, there are that many classes, let us put it that way. Or by the GPS location, based on the person where he is, within the zone there are only 10 monuments, so I can find which of the monuments this is based on the picture and the geometry or whatever inherently it is looking at. So, it can work as a tour guide because it can have a retrieval system. Yeah, please. Yeah. If there is a barcode, there is no AI part. But if it is simple barcode, there is no AI part. Just because barcode is already manually coded. So I didn't pay attention on the barcode. The moment you asked, I could think about it. Sure.
But in a very constant domination, AI system is
I will tell you the AI part where it comes. I'm sorry. If the bars are not legible enough because there is some water in it, some smearing in it, then it has no prediction of what the bar number can be, isn't it? The moment there is a prediction, the AI jumps in. Okay? Okay. Right, he's saying if there are barcodes, there's no big AI because barcode system, RFID system is there for ages. User ID and password, the network ID and password. He's saying there are two categories. maybe, but still, here it has two bars the way it looks to me. Name and password both are two barcodes. So, but still, I don't know how Google does that. But most of the examples I have shown, they definitely use some kind of a prediction. Okay. So even if you remove the blur behind the picture or add the blur, whatever you call it, okay. So this is also AI. This is definitely AI because you're playing with pixel now, and the moment you play with pixels, that is a better AI than anything you do. So what is AI and what is intelligence? Now we talked about AI so many times, but what is AI? Can somebody attempt to answer it?
There is something it's a human intelligence which we do to the machine.
Okay, it's not human intelligence.
It's not exactly.
It's a non-biological intelligence. Okay.
But intelligence is something which human has by birth.
Okay. So it is given to a machine that ability to learn. Intelligence came from the data, the insights that came from the data. Okay, excellent. So AI is science and engineering of making machines intelligent and making machines do the task the way humans do. An explanation of that would be better than saying that machines are intelligent. Machines are doing the task like humans are doing.
If you look at intelligence as an alien intelligence, super intelligence,
Right.
as a narrow intelligence,
Correct. Then you can also say narrow AI, strong AI, weak AI, and all of that comes into play now. Okay. Then what is intelligence? The definition of it. Decision making. And how does decision making happen? Can you make decisions without optimistic? Decision making could be optimistic or pessimistic, but that's again, optimism or pessimism comes from what? Experience. Experience. Ideology is again belief system. Now we are getting into the non-logical methods sometimes. Yeah, I mean, intelligence is unsupervised decision making. No. I mean, if you tell a baby or a 3-year-old, hey, he is your uncle, there is supervised. Then the next time the same person shows up, the baby calls, hey, he's uncle. So there is supervised. I mean, in general, like in intelligence, there is supervision. There is also some unsupervised way of doing it because we are good to generalize. As humans in intelligence, we are very good at generalization, right? So when I say generalization, reinforcement learning. Yeah, that is also one way of learning, correct. So intelligence is more or less, she's right, making decisions, but based on what? Based on something you learn, you acquire. So have knowledge and then make decisions. Have knowledge and then apply. The definition, simplest definition, all these definitions are by the way from the so-called popular dictionaries that I think. These are not my own definitions. I just picked the simplest definitions, more direct definitions, including mine, including AI, everything. But look, intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply skills. That's what humans have. We acquire the knowledge and then we apply. So, do you think the machines have that intelligence? Means, do they have the ability to acquire the knowledge and then apply? Maybe, we'll see. And by the way, like I said, intelligence itself is a very elusive word. The example is, until today, let us say you don't know AI. But today you just come to know the basics of AI. You go back to your office and then, hey, good news, now I know what is AI. You feel good, you feel intelligent, and then you feel like some hard skill you learned today. Then your colleagues will say, don't worry, we have seen the same thing on the live streaming, we also know what is AI. Then you feel intelligent. So intelligence is a moving post. If it is no longer hard, then it is not intelligent. If it is hard, only few people do it, then that is intelligent, isn't it? So that is what Marvin Minsky says. Who is Marvin Minsky? He is the founder of MIT AI Labs at MIT. Okay, and so if intelligence itself is elusive term, what is this artificial intelligence? I mean, now I'm talking about AI and then I'll convince you artificial is no good, intelligence is no good. What is good? You know, so let's get there. So the father of AI, then we need to get to the origin of who invented this word AI. And any takers? John McCarthy. John McCarthy, he is the one to come up with this term. He's a mathematician and then a few other statisticians and mathematicians. In those days also, you have silos. You have these ideals, beliefs, idealisms. I believe in expert systems. I believe in connectionism. I believe in something else. Marco James. I mean, you have parallel mathematical things happening, and then each of them believe in one of these fundamentals of the math. How do you bring them together without using any of those names? The moment you say, hey, I'm from Congress, then you are eliminating other party, right? So you need to create a new name to make sure all the parties are aligned. So he thought creatively, let me call this conference, I want to call the mathematics conference for 4 weeks in New Hampshire or the Dartmouth University in 1956. He wanted to get the experts in the math and statistics to come to one place and then do this so-called brainstorming through a conference. But he doesn't want to name it anything with no name, so he just coined word artificial intelligence. But he is phenomenal. He is the one to come and say IT computing would be sold like water and electricity in 1956. Is that happening now? Are we buying, competing like water and electricity or not? That's what AWS is all about. That's what Microsoft Azure is all about. And he predicted that would happen. And the same guy who made his machine play chess with chess players. But at that time, those chess players defeated the machine, but still he attempted in those days. So don't come and say IBM Blue and then Kasparov and then the current Go, all of them are the newest of the newest. AI is just taking new avatar every time, that's all. It has been there since 1956, so that you know. Then why is the specialty of AI today is something we'll talk about it. Even before you have Alan Turing. So at least the term, before the term itself, people started to talk about getting the machines to do what humans can do. Even before our friend John McCarthy, who has coined the term artificial intelligence, the Turings of the world have thought about it. There is always some kind of intelligence that you need to bring. And he talked about understand the language of humans, understand how humans do the things, and then understand the patterns inside, and then solve problems meant for humans. That is what he tried to do in those days. So anyhow, just to let you know, unless you have funding for any research area to flourish, it is not possible, right? You guys understand that basis. And the funding comes first from any government is from the Defense Department. Okay? So AI has taken many deaths because that is what we call winter. Every death of AI is called AI winter. When AI winter happens, what happens? There is a depletion of funding. No more funding happens. Why does that happen? Capability is far less than the expectation of the funders. After some time, the funder unplugs. He pulls the plug out. So, right now the AI capability has shaped up, especially from 2012, very well. Capability is surprising the expectation in a way, in some pockets. It's dominating the baseline human intelligence in terms of identifying a dog breed in a photo. A machine can tell it better than a human about a dog breed in a photo, even though the guy knows all the breeds of the dogs. So, you are exceeding some expectations, and hence AI winter is not going to come in the near future, even though there is enough hype as well as enough capabilities competing with each other. But we are in a good shape today, in the current century. So what do you mean when you say someone is intelligent? We talked about it. Informed, good judgments. Is today's AI really intelligent, by the way? If you go by the definition of intelligence, it must be well informed. When you say acquired skill means well informed. And then good judgment means you are applying that skill. So humans have that intelligence, right? We're well informed, then we apply the knowledge to make some judgment about the world, the real world. So today's AI may be well informed but not sound in judgment. So I'm just trying to play a self-driving car here. So what's happening is
this means sand, snow, dust, and other things that the human eye might not be able to see through. The second enabling technology is cameras with image recognition software. The third, ultrasonic sensors, and the fourth is satellite imagery with real-time traffic. When these systems are all integrated, you get a very robust overall system that almost acts like a digital extended safety cushion of technology for your car.
So what's happening here? Here, the autonomous car, how does it work? It has a live board for long distance vision. It can go through snow, it can go through dust, or it can go through hailstorm, it can just go through. I'll give you an incident wherein Elon Musk, the autonomous car, and then there are three cars in the front. Say the fifth car in the front got into accident. The fourth car, third car, second car just rammed into that fifth car. But Tesla car didn't, because it has that LiDAR and then all those sensors. It already sensed the fifth car bumped into an accident, and hence it didn't wait until the front car applies the brakes. It applied beforehand. It saved the lives. All because of the sensors that can see through. Like the humans cannot see through, but sensors can see through. Okay? And then you have those long distance sensors, LiDAR. And then you have proximity sensors, sound-based sonar sensors. And then you have regular camera sensors with RGB, the regular sensors you have on your phone. So you have three kinds of sensors acting here. And then you have satellite helping you for the traffic and congestion and everything. See how equipped you are. So much knowledge. More knowledge than a human has, right? Which means they are more intelligent than. So we can trust an autonomous car and then just have our, whatever it is, possibly, right? That is the hope, that is the expectation. But there are still some challenges.
For autonomous driving.
So this is what, now you integrate the signals coming from all these sensors. This is called, if you are into hardware, if you are into robotics, this is called sensor fusion. You're mixing up the signals and then making some sense out of them. So the sensor fusion happens through the image sensors, the radar sensors, the long distance sensors, combination of all of them. They are the positions of the sensors in your autonomous car all around. So many sensors. And take another example of self-parking vehicle. But these are old. I mean, you have new technologies coming in, and then you probably must have seen better videos. But just to drive a point, what's happening here then? Everybody is capable. Why is this so-called Tesla car rammed underneath the truck? It thought there is enough gap for it to go through, but it probably missed out on the projections from the car, the overhangings. So there's always a risk of trusting any automated world. And another example is, there was a fatal accident of Tesla driver dying, and there was a truck coming in the direction, it's just making a turn. Why did a Tesla car think the truck is not there? But there is a truck, and then he just rammed into the truck and then he died. Why did that happen? If you have all these sensors helping you, you know what? When those image sensors looked at it, on one side of the truck you have the sky image. So you think the scene in the front is sky, has something matching with the background sky, light blue, some image, some advertisement on the side of the truck. You just rammed into it. So these are all the things that you cannot trust a machine with. A human can differentiate unseen things, unknown things. A machine cannot differentiate unseen, unknown things easily. When life and death are involved, you must be careful. So then what is AI? I don't want to call it artificial intelligence anymore. Let us call it augmented intelligence. Augmented intelligence is augmenting its own intelligence and human intelligence. It is augmenting human intelligence. Suddenly the definition of AI is good. It's augmenting human intelligence is artificial intelligence. AI, augmenting human intelligence. Not only augmenting the intelligence, some sense it is autonomous also, right? I mean, human is not doing anything in the case of autonomous driving, right? So autonomous intelligence, augmented intelligence, as well as assistive intelligence in case of Siri. It is assisting you to reach further mile. So these are the But so what is not AI? Some of you have said AI cannot do the creativity and imagination. That they are the faculty of the mind. AI doesn't have that mind. So don't ever come and say it is creative, it is imaginative. No. Or then you come and say, how come it has drawn the same picture that I have drawn? How come it has produced Barack Obama's videos? The way Barack Obama spoke. This is called reversioning, not original. Yeah, these are all reversion based on enough of data you have seen. By the way, AI today can generate a lot of code that makes really sense with semicolon in C program, with enough tags in Python, it can do all the magic. It looks exactly the way human creates. No syntactical problems, but it's gibberish. It doesn't. So it can emulate, simulate the form, but it cannot have a substance, at least today, when it comes to creativity and imagination. So all you see the examples of creativity and imagination are some kind of emulation, simulations, or copycat or reversioning, but it's not originality. Can AI really originally create a new masterpiece? At this point, it doesn't have the capability, and I really don't think it would have any capability in any near future unless there are biological things getting into AI. In a non-biological world, that's a really tricky part. If there is a men in black kind of biological things getting into AI, I don't know, maybe biological things are short-lived, like the ants of the world, maybe you are just deriving intelligence from them and then put in a machine, maybe, I don't know. If it is non-biological, I really suspect creativity and imagination can be part of AI. This is my own opinion.
But I just want to add, there's a plasma. We can think on the like a quantum.
Yeah.
Things evolution. With organic.
Yeah. I mean, if you can have algae in the swimming pool, algae, the different colors, and this the organic way of is generate the colors naturally from green algae, green color, red algae is of chemicals, right? I mean, what I'm trying to tell is if organic is coming into the play, there's always some possibility. But otherwise, what is AI? AI is the combination of theory plus HITL plus ML. Theory is the training data. So in equations, AI equal to training data. It requires humongous training data as much as you can, if possible. But if you come and say you're drilling the oil and you are BP, and then you find oil in somewhere in Atlanta, at Antarctica, and then you drilling. Each oil will cost sometimes $1 billion also, or maybe more than $1 billion. Can you experiment? Can you say I need data from 100,000 wells to predict something about these wells? No, not possible, right? Because just get one instance and one example of oil data or oil rig data, it costs billions and billions. So sometimes even though you're data hungry, for you to predict correctly about whether a particular oil rig based on the soil condition or the rock condition or the temperature or the location or prayer history, to predict whether it would find oil or not, you need to have hundreds and thousands of rig data, but you don't have that many rigs in the world, let us say, for that count. So there's always a challenge to get enough training data, by the way, depending on the problem you're trying to solve. But as much training data as you can get is good for you. Then machine learning. I'm using machine learning loosely here. Deep learning is part of machine learning. Machine learning is part of AI, in other words, rule-based systems and non-rule-based systems. All of that so-called algorithms is the point in the middle. Training data with an algorithm, but the most important thing for AI to work is a human in the loop, HITL. And that is the teacher. Somebody has to tell right from wrong, otherwise how does it know whether there's a cat in the picture or not? How does the machine know by itself? Somebody has to say there is a cat, but you don't want to know whether there's a cat or not, I want to know the picture is colorful or not. Then the training is different. You're training for the color of the picture. You're training for the number of people in the picture. So your training objective is different. But at the end of the day, a teacher has to say what the problem you're trying to solve based on this training data. And the teacher is human. And don't forget that. So you don't want to come and say, oh, the machine can learn on its own and then just shoot the people around. I mean, it can happen, it can shoot the people around if it's given the equipment. Even if you are in the bad guys' hands, if you have nuclear devices, all those so-called Mission Impossible movies are around that. But the point is, If anything can get into bad elements and there is an automated gun versus there is an automated machine trying to do using with the help of AI and then precise targeting and then creating havoc in the world, that happens. It doesn't mean that they are more powerful than humans.
There's a quote.
Yeah.
How much automation is 3 hours?
Plus?
But plus 1 click to stop.
Correct. Correct. So the control lies with the human is what Fred is saying. Even unsupervised learning.
Truly speaking, there is no unsupervised learning. No unsupervised learning. Truly, very real. Somewhere there's a big number.
See, when you say human in the loop, somebody has to say these findings make sense, right? What happens in unsupervised learning? It's called clustering also in a way. In unsupervised learning, the properties of the given training data or the data, you would inherently learn by looking at the properties of the data, some patterns or some groups. You're grouping the data based on the inherent nature of the data using mathematics. We are not looking at like a human saying, you know what, the age group is up to 14, these are kids, and then the age group is this teenagers, and then this is human. We have rule-based division of the data for the bank loan applications. But if you tell a clustering algorithm to look at the data the way it is and then do some kind of a mathematical jumbo, come back with grouping these applications, it will come and say, I think these are all belonging to together, and then see the age group 0 to 14, they're all belonging to together. Or senior citizens belonging to together. How could it know if it is not supervised, nobody is giving the labels, no human is telling, hey, this age group is for senior citizens, this age group is for young kids, and then they're all behaving the same. Without you telling it, how would a clustering algorithm do that? The clustering algorithm would do it based on the underlying properties of the data, but a human has to come and say, hey, you're doing a right job, you're not doing a right job. Somebody has to say, because it may be making some sense out of it, but it has no business application for that. Okay, so in the end, there is a human in the loop. That's all I'm trying to say. And I don't see the note. And how much time do we have before the break? We started at 6:30, 7:30. Is there a break now? In 5 minutes, we have a break. Session will continue on the break. So there's a 5-10 minutes left before the first break happens, or the only break that happens. Good, thank you. And so what we are trying to do is, you need to have a human to tell what needs to be done. That's goal-directedness. And then the context also has to be given. If the context is missing, it may find everything wrong. If the context is not given, it may find the so-called MRI and then find there is something wrong here in the shoulder. But you need to look at the context of the chest for the so-called lung cancer. So somebody has to tell where to look, what to look, how to look. That is also context. So you just don't want to go by the patterns found and say this person has cancer. But what do you mean by having cancer? In what location? And then each location has different symptoms and patterns to find. And so in the end, AI is augmented human intelligence done at a scale. Pattern recognition done at a scale, and then process automation done at a scale. That's it. In glorified terms, if you want to say AI, it is pattern recognition and process automation at a scale. That's it. Just a simplistic definition. So now you see these radiology images, and then you can say to the machine, hey, these images are cancerous, these images are not. Given enough examples, an unknown or unseen image of a new patient is given, it will say with the probability of so-called whatever, I can say this person has the cancer. It cannot be 100% sure. There's always a probability. It always gives 95% probability there's a cat inside the picture. Generally, the probability varies from 0 to 1. And just to let you know, there is a big world of computer science. The sub section within the computer science is artificial intelligence. The subset of artificial intelligence is machine learning. The subset of machine learning is deep learning. Just to know the hierarchy. Don't jumble these one with the other. And machine learning, what is the definition of machine learning? Now we talked about the intelligence comes to the machine through either AI or ML or DL, that's what we said. Now let's go to find what these are. What is AI? What is ML? What is DL? And we have seen what is AI. So let's go to what is machine learning. Machine learning, in the traditional classical machine learning, what we try to do is we extract features that are relevant to the label of the class. Features like the bumper, like the steering wheel, like the types that define a car as a car in a given object. So it's extracting the features. Are in a human, 2 hands and 2 legs and the face. You're extracting the features of a given image, given such thousands of images, and then once you extracted the features, you have a feature model. Then you do some kind of a classification model on top of these features extracted. It's kind of a two-step process. Traditionally, you speak machine learning is a two-step process where you extract the features, then you do the classification task. Okay, that's machine learning. And it is nothing but again, it's an ability to learn from the data and then derive insights. That's machine learning. Yeah, and you are not explicitly programming anything. You are learning from the data. You are not giving, you are not looking and somebody is giving, hey, these two are types, look at these geometrical coordinates. Nobody is marking the algorithm to look at them specifically and then training them. Nobody is giving those geometrical coordinate or geometry of the wheels and the tires to say that is a card. It is getting it on its own without explicit programming based on seeing enough examples. At the same time, it is having one step extra called extracting the features. That is machine learning. And there are multiple learning methods within machine learning. We already talked about classification, regression. The third one I did not introduce so far is, and in fact, I need to split this further. The classification or regression are coming under supervised learning. Means you're giving labels. You're calling this is a car, and then you give 1,000 such images with car images, and say, hey, this is car, and then you give 1,000 non-car images and say there is no car here. You're training it. For that, you need to give the output that otherwise machine would generate in the test mode. So during the training time, you give labeled images. During the test time, an unlabeled image is given, and then it should label. So that is supervised. The human is helping explicitly, supervised learning. Unsupervised learning, like the clustering example I talked about, I am not giving you the label of whether this loan application is approved or not. I don't give you. But I want you to find some patterns inherently within the loan application data. I'm just removing the column that talks about this loan is approved, this is not approved, approved, not approved. I'm just removing it, but I'm giving you the rest of the input fields. There is no training label here. There is no output predefined for training here. But it should be able to find some inherent patterns. That is called unsupervised learning. So these are the two kinds of learning. The third learning is reinforcement learning. Like this is based on penalty and reward based. So you do an intelligent guess, something goes wrong, then you have a penalty, then you learn from it. Most of the games that you see, they learn through reinforcement learning. The AlphaGo, there are 3 versions of AlphaGo. If you see, even in recently this year also, there is another Alpha something. But we lost interest because the first AlphaGo is a big breakthrough. And the point there is, wherever you see these games, most of the times there is reinforcement learning involved, apart from other techniques. And what you're trying to do is, you fail many times and then you learn from those failures. You experiment and then fail, experiment and fail, because you know what is your goal. Ultimate goal is to reach that destination. Ultimate goal is to win. To win against your opponent, you have to learn with different moves. By making your own bad moves, you learn out of it. Or seeing the opponent, how he is moving and learn from it. I don't know how you do it, but just try to do it. Like the monkey is given something to go after, like a banana, and then it has to figure a way to get there. It will do trial and error. Somehow it gets to the banana, but then it will learn in the process. Same thing with the machine. And this will be the slide I would give a break now. So what happens in reinforcement learning is, okay. In case of clustering, there is no label. So there is no learning from the labels. Here there is a label. I know that input is car during the training time. So you learn from the existing knowledge that this is a car. But unsupervised learning is not trying to find this is a car. Unsupervised learning is trying to find something else inherently there in the data.
I'm trying to modify this diagram for clustering.
For clustering, I would say for clustering, take an image, do a mathematical distance of that image, and then from the rest of the other images, how far is each image from others, and then the ones closest you group them in a way. You got it, right? Which is two different algorithms, so you don't want to mix and match. Reinforcement, what happens is if I'm here in this square, I have to go there. If I'm going backward, there's a penalty, right? So next time, so there are a set of policies, and then there are possible probabilities of going to the next step. So it's based on policies that we define. And then your objective is to, what are the objective you define, right? With minimal cost you have to go.
So we say that self-driving car is
Self-driving car has a lot of supervised examples.
it's all mixture of all.
Correct.
It's all mixture of
Correct. You can bring reinforcement.
In case of radon 3, you take that's like more than
But you cannot afford to have a self-driving car in the real world to reinforcement learning. But a robo navigator, there is something called SLAM.
just get an
And it will find, the robo goes around and then find the whole map of this space without you telling anything. Maybe there some reinforcement learning is applied, but not in the self-driving car. Yeah, it could be a disaster. You cannot take a life and death chance of learning real time. But in the training time, you may be saying there could be a reinforcement learning happening. Possible, yeah. But
radon 3 is very clear. In case of radon, and how the human takes just a penalty. Make cost or penalty.
so we will continue this discussion in the break, in the interest of the rest of the people. Yeah, there is a few minute break now. Giving the labels and then through iterative process, going through the training data and then learn from the data. So how does that happen? In the layman terms, how many of you know y is equal to mx plus c? Everyone knows y is equal to mx plus c, right? From our childhood. So treat x as input vector of images. X as input vector of images. Y you already know, whether it is a cat or a dog, you know what is y. It's a y vector. So y is equal to mx plus c, you understand x in input images, you understand the labels of those images from y, knowing y and x, all the x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 values, you can find the slope and intercept by m and c. What are you trying to do during the training in any machine learning algorithm? You are trying to find these parameters. You are trying to find the values of m and c. And now a new point is given, new x value is given. Can you find y? Now that you know the values of m and c, a new x value is given, you know the corresponding y. That is all we are doing here, in the layman terms. In the training time, given x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 and n images and corresponding labels, you are trying to find that magical m vector or m matrix. And then you are trying to find the bias. Once you find the weights and bias, any new x is given is a mathematical operation to get y. That is the simplistic thing we are trying to do in the simplistic terms. Okay? So the fx is called predictor function. Fx equal to mx plus c is a predictor function. And the x the function takes are the input features. The loan application has 26 fields. let us say. All the 26 fields are input features, are input fields, are input variables, are also called independent variables. Just different synonyms, but they're all the same. And the Y for the existing known training images are called, this is nothing but dependent variable, right? It depends on the input. So, or you may call it output variable or target variable, that's okay, or class variable, whatever you want to call it. Predictor function takes the image features and then predicts the output, cat or dog, simple. There is a lot of math involved. This is only symbolically we are talking about it, just for our intuitive understanding. So what machine learning is doing here, given a bunch of apples, around 10 images or 7 images, the training set, it learns how an apple would look. It also learns how would a pear look, how would a tomato look. So you have 6 classes here, based on the training data. In this case, each class has around 7 examples. So total you are having about 42 images and 6 classes. And then you let the machine learn from this training data and given labels that this is apple, this is pear, this is tomato. Now unseen data is coming. I give an unseen apple. If you see, this apple is not there in any of these pictures. This has the longer tail. This has a shorter tail. So it's not exactly the same. Any of these pictures are unseen. They may be similar, but they are not seen before. They are not coming from the training data. This is unseen test data. And hence we don't know these labels. And given this test data, it will say with the probability, whatever, this is probably closer to tomato also, in a way. Tomato with having the stub, and then apple having a stub, it may come and say, I am 99% right that this is an apple. That 1% it may give, because it has some commonality with tomato with a stub. Possible, right? So it only throws out the probabilities of a given image being, and if it has given 6 probabilities, right? All of them have to add to 1, by the way. It's a 6 class problem, and it's big probabilities for each class. All of them have to add to 1, and then you take the object or the label with the highest probability as the type of the object. If apple is 70%, the rest of them add up to 30%, you say it's an apple because it is having the highest probability. That's how we do predictions. And the kind of problems AI solves. By the way, before we talked about AI being a subfield of computer science, means it captures every program. Rule-based or non-rule-based. Rule-based is giving the specifics of geometry of the cat. Hey, here is the tail is having this kind of width, this kind of length. On an average, most of the tails are having this kind of length and width. Tail is always positioned in the back. And all the geometry rule-based training can also happen, that is rule-based. But we are not doing that in machine learning or in deep learning. But if you are doing based on some rules and then arriving and saying this is cat, there's nothing wrong with it, but that is called symbolic AI. In the olden days, between most of the times 1950 to 1980, that AI that happened was symbolic. Means you try to make it more rule-based. That is also part of AI. But the new machine learning techniques that have come afterwards are proving or getting the things that you see today where they are today. So, the kind of problems today's AI is solving is computer vision. Most of the sensory stuff that we do, we see with our eyes, we listen with our ears, we speak with our mouth, and then we have the touch, and then we have taste. But touch, taste, smell, especially taste and smell, haven't evolved yet. But the vision has evolved. Just keep in mind, 80% of the data in the world is videos and images and audio. 80% of the whole world data, corporate and personal together. So vision has a prominence. So when you want to process images or videos and audios, that is real AI. Processing some tables like loan application, it's okay if you I mean, that is also AI, but this is really a powerful AI, right? Because you're really looking at the real world data. It is not feature engineered the way it happens in case of entering the loan application. Some feature engineering happens, right? It's not taking the way it looks. Looking at the person and say, is he loan worthy or not is different from looking at his application. Some feature engineered features are already there. Can I tell looking at you, you are loan worthy or not? Maybe I should be able to. There must be some intelligence, but enough of the people I have seen and say each of you based on your photo, I say loan approved or not from the historical data. Maybe I should be able to tell, right? He is trustworthy or not, because loan approval has to do with more than anything else trustworthiness. Can face is the index of the mind? Is that the truth? If that is the case, there is a factor for that, and then your face is not the index of the truth self you are, and hence I don't give you the loan. Maybe. All I'm saying is the way humans perceive the threat, comfort, fight, flight, can the machines do it? And computer vision can enable that. At the same time, NLP will enable the text side of it, or the speech side of it. Speech and text are the same, except that speech has one extra process, by the way. You need to take the speech and then convert that to text. That's one extra step. There is some accuracy of converting the speech to text. Otherwise, from then onwards, the work is the same. So, NLP, deep learning is heavy in NLP. In fact, deep learning started with an NLP task for ASR, for speech recognition. Deep learning made speech recognition accuracy really go high. So, many people think deep learning started in computer vision. That's not the truth. So, some of the tasks that AI can do to do with computer vision, something to do with NLP and speech recognition, and something to do with reasoning and knowledge representation. I mean, I don't want to go detailing there, but many of the tasks that humans do based on the senses as well as based on their reasoning skills, AI can do it. And the inspiration for deep learning comes from the brain. Brain has, I believe, billions of neurons. I don't know, it's 40 billion, or I lost the number, tracked the number. But brain has billions of neurons and then billions of connections. Each neuron is connected to the other neurons. Right. So if you have so many billions of connections, brain is so robust and well-versed to remember the pathways or to trigger a particular neuron in a particular case or not. If brain can learn from these interconnections of neurons, why can't we simulate the same thing and then let our data points be connected? In the case of data points, I mean to say, if you take an image, if it is a high definition image, 4K image, you're talking about, say, some 2196 by 4024, whatever be the math. So we have 8 million pixel values for a given high definition image, extra high definition image. And then you have 10,000 images for the cat, and then 10,000 for the dog. So you are learning from the pixel values. A pixel value varies from 0 to 255. Is the intensity, right? So one extreme is black and the other extreme is white, in between is different combinations. Then you have intensities for red, green, blue, RGB data that comes from your regular cameras on the phone, the color cameras. So this is the only input data you have, not the loan application data when the person is male or not, is he employed or not, how many loans he has taken in the past. Those are the features for loan application. For finding how many people are there in this room with a picture that I have taken, the only input you can get is pixels, nothing else. So from the pixel data only you need to inherently infer and do something about that. So if you have 8 million pixels coming from a given image and then you have 10,000 cat images and then 10,000 dog images, somehow you need to marry all the data from each image through a network, pipe through a network. So what we do is, in case of a input image of 8 million pixels, you have 8 million input nodes, because each node has an intensity value. You flatten that. and then you feed it to each node. So you have 8 billion input nodes, and then you have 20,000 such images, 10,000 for cat, 10,000 for dog. So you send every time one image through input nodes of 8 billion. That is what is happening. Those are the circles or nodes you see, the blue nodes. So here the input is coming in like this. Now we have to decide through the iterative training process how many layers are there between input and output. What would output give? Cat or dog. In between, our headache is to find how many layers do we need to have. In each layer, these are all hidden layers in between. In each layer, how many nodes do you need? Okay, the intuition behind deep learning I will give you in the next slide. But understand that you are breaking apart into the smallest elements given input image, which are pixels, and those intensities are input values. In the y equal mx plus c, that is x vector that I talked about. Then you need to find m and c, which you call collectively between m and c, you call them as weights. The objective of training a deep learning network is identify the weight matrix. That is nothing but m and c. If you identify the weight matrix, your job is done. Because a new x comes, a new x is an 8 million pixel input vector. You marry this weight vector with the input vector, you get the y. Broadly speaking. So, what is deep learning here? Modeling high level abstractions in the data. Because you are doing some mathematical operations, each node is a mathematical model in a way. Something comes in, something goes out, something comes in, something goes out. In between, you have some mathematical multiplication operations and additive operations. That's all you're having here. Through those multiplicative and additive linear operations, you are able to eventually arrive at the weights of these connectors. These connectors are nothing but so-called answer weights. What would be? Initially, you start with some random value. You don't know, right? We don't know what is that going to be. What is the hyperparameter going to be? We don't know. So you start. We don't know what this parameter is going to be. You start with some random numbers. You initialize the weights. As a new image comes through the training process, the answer says it's a dog, but it's a cat. Then there is an error. How much of a catness is there in this image? If it says the catness is 90%, whereas it's a dog. Cat. So there's a big error here, right? So you calculate the difference and then you minimize the difference. How do you minimize the difference? By again changing the weights. By playing with these many weights, and then of course back propagation is a process through which you send the error back. We don't know which of these weights are contributing that kind of a big error. So you, by mathematical operations, you send that error to each of these weights back, and then you readjust those weights. It's an iterative process. You do it to the point wherein error no longer comes down, or error has almost reached near zero. Then you stop training. Then you're ready for testing, let us say. So we are learning from the input label. Because the input label says this is cat, but through the process of training I am saying this is dog, there is a difference from catness to dogness, and then I minimize the error, and the minimization of the error happens through something called back propagation. Back propagate the error in the output layer all the way to the weights in the front layer. And then in the process, if this particular weight is contributing more to that error, that has to be adjusted upwards and downwards more. Weights can be positive or negative also, by the way. Okay, they can vary from -1 to +1, let us say. Correct. So, and then by the way, I am simplifying this, calling it y equal mx plus c as a linear function. But the real world is non-linear. So intentionally non-linearity is added for each neuron. I am calling this neuron or each node, there is a non-linearity inbuilt in it. Okay? Why? Because the world is non-linear anyhow. So you don't want to have a bunch of layers deeper and deeper, and then there is still a mathematical linear function. So the learning won't happen if you don't have non-linearity in it. But anyhow, you don't want to know too much about this. This is just to give you an overall understanding of how the neurons in the brain, biological brain work, and then can we just bring that concept of connecting these mathematical nodes and then see by playing these activation functions whether this particular neuron is getting activated or not. If it gets activated means, if it gets activated means that is there. Means signal goes from here to here. If it is not activated, it's zero, means this pathway is closed. That's what happens in the brain also. Then play with these ways. Somehow you turn these knobs as you train through the images, arrive at the good combination of these knobs on the dashboard. These knobs are nothing but the intensity values between -1 to 1 of each of these connections called weights. That's it. Know the weights, know the connections, your job of training is done. So, symbolic based, yeah. There is non-linearity in each and every neuron through non-linear functions. It could be sigmoid and others. But it's okay, I mean, what kind of non-linearity you can bring? For example, the values coming into your neuron, somewhere in the third hidden layer, the input value coming is -7. My downstream system to the next node, okay, I can decide this input value to be 0 because all negative values are 0. Positive I pass as they are. Is this non-linear or not? It is non-linear, right? -7 I am not sending as it is. I am sending as it is when the value is positive or 0. But if it is negative, I am making it 0.
That's a value, rectified linear.
So that's a typical non-linearity is introduced by something called ReLU. A linearity is just corresponding the same way. 1 comes in, 1 goes out, 7 comes in, 7 goes out, but if it is rectified, then you're rectifying it. But more than rectification, what we are trying to understand is, with a small tweak, that would be very, very less in computation. You're not doing any mathematical function other than, if it is negative, turn it to 0, if it is positive, leave the value as it is. This is the least computationally least, right, in terms of the time or the computation power it takes, because we have these many neurons, these many nonlinear units inside these neurons. You don't want to have a complex non-linearity introduced here. So we will try to have low intensity, simple non-linearity at each node. Okay?
What is the best practice to identify how many hidden layers to have and how many nodes we use?
That's through your experimentation only. You cannot say these many hidden layers and then these many nodes for each layer. So you start with those who have already done the research before in your problem domain, and then you're extending their problem into your own problem. Many a times that's what we do. We don't start from scratch. We take somebody else's research and then we do some kind of a transfer learning from them. In other words, you take already a working existing network that has been used for finding cats and dogs. Okay? Now you would use it for humans and chimpanzees. Means you try to use a working network already in place and then you tweak it around.
So you're using the same one.
So when that happens, it's easier for you to tune these parameters. That's what I'm trying to tell. But if you're trying to do from scratch, then you have to experiment everything. You start with some heuristic way of picking these initial values for these hyperparameters in terms of the number of nodes in a hidden layer or number of hidden layers, whatever be the hyperparameter, whatever the parameter that you have in mind. And then you start with the heuristics, what people generally do in the research world, and then you start from those values. And then you start up tweaking, down tweaking. If the error is too huge,
Practices? Are there any best practices to pick with?
yeah, there are best practices. Depending on the domain and depending on the problem we try to. But I can share that offline. Otherwise, we may be getting a little bit deeper. And so, again, just to visually understand, if it is a symbolic world until 1950 to 1980 time frame in those 30-40 years, many a times we are trying to find the features from the cat as they are. We try to look at if it has fur on it, if it has legs, if it has tail, and then we are making some rules. However, after 1980s, we stopped looking at the features, internal features. Let it find the features on its own. We are not going to educate it. Okay? This is called handcrafting. The first one I told. There is a tail, there is leg, there is manually trying to tell is called handcrafting. That is the symbolic way of doing things, handcrafting. It's painful, it is not robust, it is not flexible. The moment you are not locally looking at it and then trying to geometrically talk about it or give it some features manually, explicitly, the moment you are not doing it, you are robust, right? Now the cat can be hiding its everything behind a curtain except the tail is popping out. Still it can learn from the tail, that's a cat. Because you're saying, even though there is a tail hanging out, everything is hidden, or in the newspaper, or in the brown paper, the head is coming out. You are not looking at all these rules here anymore, right? We are looking at, this is also a cat in a brown paper. So, given enough examples and enough camera orientations, enough intensity levels, enough color images versus black and white, doesn't matter. Put everything in it. Let it learn. Put all the kinds of images. Let it learn, and then it will learn. It will learn because there is some inherent pattern in each of these images. As you pump the input values through this network, so-called deep network, then there are 322 layers also in some networks. They are very deep sometimes. Eventually, you figure the magic out. Why do you call them? I'm calling it magic, but eventually it's just mathematical. This is not real magic in it. But mathematically, it will find those weights. Once you know the weight matrix, you cannot guarantee every image given 100% this is a cat. Tomorrow I'll give a new image that is showing half of this picture, half of this face. I don't know whether it can predict comfortably at 95%. Maybe it can predict 65%. That's okay. That is still better than not able to do it. Correct, even a human may fail, by the way. So, the intuition behind, just a crude intuition for deep learning is this. Today you want to go for IPL. Okay? And to go attend an IPL match, one input variable is how far it is from your home. Who is coming with me? It makes a difference. What is the ticket price? Available ticket. That's another input variable. Do I like the kind of music they play in the stadium? Right? There are quite a few. So let's take few parameters. How is the weather? How is the music that they play in the stadium? Who is my company? What kind of money does it cost me to go there? All these parameters, these are the input values, let us say. Weather can vary from whatever 20 degrees to 45 degrees, let us say. Then you normalize it to -1 to +1 or 0 to 1, whichever way you want to normalize it. So you say 0 to 1, you normalize it, right? Otherwise, you don't want the weather to dominate just because weather number is bigger than, or money number is bigger than number of friends I'm taking with me. You don't want money to dominate in the network, and then every time, whatever money threshold you have kept, that is what is deciding the outcome of whether you go to IPL or not. So you normalize generally, you normalize the range. You bring them into a reasonable 0 to 1 range. So weather values you bring 0 to 1. Music liking also 0 to 1. Everything you bring into a range, whatever you can do. And then once you have these numbers, right, it's a range. So my taste, your taste, his taste means you have 78 people here. Each of us, we have different values for these input parameters. If the weather is 20 to 30 range, I will go, otherwise I won't go. If the music is Bollywood, I would go. For example, if the company is my wife, I will go. If the money is very expensive, I won't go. So whatever, these are subjective, right, for each candidate. So you have input data coming for each of the candidates, and then I need to find out these importances. This is the problem we are trying to solve. And then let us say my importance for weather is this much. My importance for music is this much, and then you multiply them and then you add all of them. If it is above a threshold value, then I go. If the value is above 25, when you do this simple sum of the products, right? This is sum of the products. I go. So, assuming that I found these weights that are robust enough based on the 78 training data, 78 people and their training data. Assuming that I know these weights, then a new person comes in, I can easily find the total value, and then if the value is above 25, okay, he goes for IPO. If it is below 25, that's my threshold. He wouldn't go. Yeah, there is also a bias, and the bias is a threshold value. So you can pick the bias this side, and then it all becomes part of the weight vector. Okay? The threshold is a bias.
Threshold can be actually reduce the bias by doing all these things.
Yeah, bias is also a tunable parameter. You tune. You need to figure the MNC out end of the day. So understand it, this is just the intuition. Just to understand. And then you arrive at robust weight values. So all that we do in any deep learning is input times weights, add bias, and then activate. This activate function is the one that takes care of non-linearity also. Okay? That is the value or a threshold or whatever, I mean the sigmoid and then whatever you're talking about. So just a simple formula for any deep learning situation, right? Input times weight, add bias, and then activate. That is what happens in each neuron. There are many neurons, there's blue circles. In each neuron, this is the mathematical operation that happens. Then there is an output. Then again, that is an input for next neuron. Within the neuron, there is again a nonlinear function. Then neuron also getting many inputs. And then you combine the weights of the next layer, and then you do the mathematical sum of products. Then again apply nonlinearity, then that's the output of that neuron. So these mathematical functions continue until the output layer. The combination of at the node you're getting inputs, and then within the node you're doing some of the products, and then you're also adding nonlinearity through activation, and that is the output. You understood now? Yeah. And what's the time now? It's 8:27. So we'll wrap it up in a few minutes. So I don't want to talk about why today AI has picked the prominence very deep. Just in summary, there are three reasons why deep learning has taken the prominence. One reason is cheap sensors. If I say training data really makes or breaks an algorithm for a machine learning to work, who is collecting the training data? Sensors, like the cameras. So cheap sensors are one reason why deep learning is very popular. AI is doing a phenomenal job because of availability of cheap sensors. Not only that, internet is ubiquitous and then free almost all over the world. What people are doing? They're freely uploading the data. For those tech companies to do a lot of analysis based on the free data they're getting in. By the way, if you didn't pay for it, you are a product. You know that, right? What does it mean? If you didn't pay for it, you are a product. Means they are selling you somewhere else. Or your elements, or your behavior, or your characteristics, somewhere they are using it. So you are a product. They are selling you somewhere else. Okay? And what happened in 2012 or from the internet era that has picked up the steam from the early 2010s to today is that until then, the benchmark of the accuracy of the algorithms before deep learning is somewhere here. Say this is 60%. And then this goes to accuracy takes the 60% to 90%. There is a 50% or more than the double performance in terms of what happened with the deep learning that is possible, that is made possible by these three things. Moore's law is that every 2 years the prices come down by half. Moore's law is talking about how everybody knows Moore's law. I don't want to talk about it anyhow. So these are the three factors that drove deep learning toward what AI is doing today. And by the way, if you have fully connected versions, that deep learning example we talk about, each input node is connected to each output node, it is a hidden node, then each hidden node is connected to each output node. This is fully connected, that is simple ANN, artificial neural networks. But then there is something called CNN, convolutional neural networks. See, I want to pay more attention on the localization of the image. I want to pay attention into local samples of the image. So I have a sliding scale. So instead of looking at the whole image as 8 million pixels coming as input, I will take a duster and then wipe along the image. Now, that filter is looking at only the local area, then it's sliding one step at a time. What am I doing? I am trying to learn local features of a given image. Before we are trying to do in a fully connected network, learn everything from everything, hopefully the magic works. The math works. But in case of convolution neural network, you use convolutions, or also called as channels, or also called filters. We are using now some filters. What you do is, you are looking at this particular area and then you are sliding down. On this area, I do the same matrix multiplication and then narrow down to one number. That is what you are doing even in a neuron, right? What are you doing? 4 connections are coming in with 4 weights and then 4 inputs. You do the products and then you're summing it, you're getting one number, that's what you're doing. To that number, you're applying some non-linearity. This is what neuron is doing, right? So same thing is happening here also, but you know what? Your focus area is only that one for that moment. Then when I slide, only that much. So I'm learning each local area individually, and then I'm doing some kind of summation using pooling later on. So now I am getting all the inherent properties of a given image through so many layers and so many convolutions. In the end, I can predict a cat as a cat better, a chrysanthemum as a chrysanthemum better. If I don't do this way, if I do the ANN way, my prediction may not be accurate. But if I do localized learning, my prediction will be accurate. So CNN comes with convolutions. By the way, these are all the applications of deep learning, mostly CNN. Given an image, you can say, hey, there is a steamer here. Given an image, hey, there is an elephant here. You know, today's AI can find out, when I say elephants, in the deep African rainforest, you have those smaller versions of savanna elephants. But these are not easily seen, they are in deep forest. So you cannot have a drone from the top count all of them. But they are becoming extinct. These elephants are becoming extinct. You know what deep learning could do? And in this case, you are not taking pictures of elephants from the top, but you are capturing with 250 kilometer radius, square kilometer radius, so with some 100 sensors, you are capturing the forest noises, all the kinds of noises, of which you need to separate the elephant noises using classification. Remember, classification is saying these are elephant noises, these are non-elephant noises. Now I know these are elephant noises. There is a particular noise that comes when it comes to an elephant being in a danger versus why an elephant is in a danger? Because of the poachers. Poachers try to kill them for the tusk, skin, whatever it is, right? So, how do you think the forest ranger catch these poachers? And then these elephants, called African forest elephants, are becoming extinct. And how do you protect them? Why do you want to protect them? Because of the biodiversity. If you don't have the biodiversity, tomorrow Earth will be in shambles, you will be in trouble. We're already having a big, more than you're talking about global warming, biodiversity problem is a bigger crisis. So, you can use deep learning based processing of sounds coming from forest and then find out based on the type of the sound, because all these elephants do low level to high level noises. When they communicate with their friends, they give high five, the noise comes very large. But when they're saying, hey, I exist, to let you know I exist here, noise comes low. So, and then there's a poacher gunshots, there are different noises. Now you're classifying these noises, if they are beyond a threshold, ranger goes there. So deep learning is used there. We're not talking about just classification, we're talking about audio signals here. And then classifying them, object detection, segmentation, these are all different applications. And I'll just give you I mean, you know, Google's do play.
What's happening up here?
Um, And then Sophia would say,
Jimmy,
I
would you
it was
like to
correct on
play a
Facebook
game
at the
of
end.
paper, scissors, robot style?
And these are different applications. And okay, the challenge is, this is probably the last 2 slides. It's not artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence, it is assistive intelligence, it is autonomous intelligence, but more than anything else, it is a symbiotic world. Symbiotic is nothing but collaboration, right? Remember that, the symbiotic world. Remember that it is not just about intelligence, it's about, tell me, why did this accident happen? If the Supreme Court judge asked the Tesla CEO, your car killed a pedestrian, how did this happen? Tesla, Elon Musk would come and say, this is why, this is why, this is why. This is explicability of the algorithm is important. Why did this happen? Bias is always in the system. If you take loan applications, we don't specially say the race is black or white. Because then you're telling, don't give loans to black people, let us say, or colored people, or whatever you want to call it. Because they're probably on the low income sector. Then government would come and say, as a bank, you cannot deprive a common citizen from a loan he can get. So, even though you remove the race column, it can still find the bias. Do you know how? By the zip code. Most of the low income people flock together in a zip code like slums, let us say. So, it will say, if he comes from this zip code, don't give it. Don't give the loan, which is not fair. So, we need to make sure there is no unknown bias in the data. Known bias, we can remove those columns. Unknown bias, we have to look for that. Corporate mindset is what? Automate, get things done. You know, the RPA is there and then let processes be automated. But don't come from the corporate mindset of how do you save cost. Come from the mindset of innovation and collaboration. How do you innovate as a corporate? How do you collaborate as humans with machines? This is what it is, right? This is what we want to call collaborative intelligence. End of the day, we started with man, mind and machines, and this is all about how do you collaborate as humans with machines, and the collaborative intelligence has to do with these 3 elements when it comes to humans assisting machines. Remember, we talked about the thought works. The thought is the beginning and works is the outcome. From thought to work, a man is assisting the machine. And the assistance process, remember, we said supervised training is needed. So that is, a human is a trainer labeling the outputs. In human assisting machines, a human is an explainer. This is why the accident happens, the explicability. A human is a sustainer. He says, you know what, don't be a human being, be a being human. Being human brings a responsibility, right? So you as a human bring that responsibility to the AI system that you are building. So you are the human assisting the machine to be a better training algorithm, to be able to tell why it happens, whatever the decision you made, to be able to make yourself responsible, the machine itself responsible. And then on the flip side, machine is helping humans too. And if you take that, augmenting is the grunt work. That machine does the grunt work of looking at every image patiently. And if you ask me to look at 10,000 radiology images to say cancer or not, I'll be losing patients after 3rd or 7th. But a machine can constantly, without having any feelings and boring, it continuously learns. So the grunt work let the machines do, let the judgment be done by humans. So for the grunt work of initial finding, let the machines come and help the humans. Then the doctor would come and say, you think there is cancer in this radiology? And now I bring my own intelligence, my own judgment based on my experience. I don't think I would worry about it, leave it. Oh no, you're right, let me do it. So this is called augmenting, right? And then interacting, right? All these chatbots, all these NLPs, they are helping the man interact with machines as a human-machine interface. So there is some interaction happening through so-called Siris of the world, so-called automated chatbots of the web of the world. And then finally, so they're helping there, right? They're helping when you're generating the leads of the people coming to your website. These chatbots are filtering or collecting the contact numbers of the people coming to the website. So a live agent will call afterwards, isn't it? So there is a definite interaction happening. Then there's something called embodied, right? I mean, nowadays, if you have a robot and a factory building those so-called Toyota cars, it knows if there's a human, it will behave well. It doesn't just drop things on him. It knows the context of the environment it is in. So, in that sense, it is helping. A machine is assisting human. with the context awareness as a cobot, as a collaborative cobot. So collaborative examples are Unilever when it hired people, initial step, it will have an online gaming to understand the personality trait. So I don't want you to talk to my recruiter inside Unilever. Let the application that you send to me, I will send you a game to play. Based on the way you play the game using virtual reality and all the kind of stuff. I can see your risk-taking capability. I can see how friendly you are. Whether you stammer, stutter in case of any danger, or you stand strong. All that we can, by psychological games, come to know. Suddenly a ball comes on your head, you duck. Or your reaction time is very less. But if you repeatedly send the ball, you're killing again and again. There's no surprise for you. Ball comes in the same direction, same force, you're killing it again and again. Means you're good in accounting. Possibly, right? Your personality trait comes out. So get the personality trait first. Then the next step is online gaming is done. The next step is video response. Now I want you to answer subject questions or human questions based on your profile. I will send you a question here, but you are going to answer them in a video. You record and send to me. Now we process that video. Step 2 in hiring process is do some kind of psychometric analysis. Understand your body language, understand your tone. And step 3 is real in-person interview. First 2 steps are machines, third step is human. And then take the example of GE maintenance with the sensors and the track varied signals, same story for the predictive maintenance. Finally, you bring the part as a human, but the rest of the things are automated. Collaborative tools, examples of Carnival Cruise, that I don't want to talk about. But you know what? All I want to say is there is no happiness in WhatsApp bots. There is no happiness in tagging faces. They are not really relevant when it comes to AI world. Be responsible. Put AI for clean air. Put AI for conservatism. Put AI for biodiversity. Put AI for global warming. Put AI for saving lives in healthcare. Put AI for finance. Put AI for wherever it matters, not where it doesn't matter, right? But today's AI many times is there where it doesn't matter. But if you can put where it works, that is what is the real AI. And in economics you say what? Maximize expected utility. Maximize the expected utility. Maximization comes from optimization as a subject within so-called data science. Okay? Expected comes from statistics, expectation, expected value and all of that. But nobody is looking at utility. We are trying to do maximization or optimization techniques and then we are having some expectation on top of whether the next person hit the ball or not, whether the car hits the pedestrian or not, all of that is fine. If it is utility, there is utility when the car is hitting the pedestrian or not because it's very, you must be responsible. At the same time, I'm predicting the next guy is my friend or not, maybe there's no much utility, right? So find value, you're saving life, you're predicting the radiology image is having a cancer or not, there is a big utility. So all we try to say is don't make it a data-driven science for AI, make it utility-driven science for AI. That is the final message. Utility-driven science for AI. Pay attention on utility, not on vanity. Because many of the AI programs pay attention on vanity. Some of them do good thing on utility, but anything we do in this world using machines, let us make sure there is a value derived out of it as humans for us, and then let's be responsible in designing those systems. Thank you.